She got it off. But
Not super blue.
well, I'll go with blue. It's gonna be down there. I didn't say. I think it's safe.
Look at this.
That's dancing.
It's dry. That's right.
You try it.
Red and green today. You're welcome. Tim, you've got his sermon.
Yes, I got his sermon. I finally found it.
I put it in the program.
Yeah, it was, I don't know why it didn't show up on my phone, but it showed up. on
That's
my
okay.
computer.
I have trouble also.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it.
Talk about, let's start a ball and get all back.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
and welcome to First Universalist of New Madison on this foggy morning. It is definitely December, chilly but not freezing, and spitting a little flakes of snow, but nothing too bad. Well, glad to have everybody here today. I have a sermon from Richard Venus, and Richard and Marcia may be here. They were going to try and make it, so everybody's travel schedule is up in the air, as you know. So hopefully they will make it today. If not, we will still hear from Richard. He was here for a number of years. I'll have to add him up and see. And in Dayton for a number of years. I have his resume. Pretty impressive, and I never knew that before, so we'll kind of go through that. And Richard has written a book, which I didn't know, so I ordered that book from Amazon, and we'll be pulling some sermons from Richard out of a book on the way through. I have to warn you on the sermon, Richard, if you've heard Richard, has a really distinctive delivery style. It's really entertaining, but it's really not easy to copy. So what I'm going to say is his words, but it's not going to be the way Richard delivered it. But the meaning is still there. So do we have any announcements? All right. Our prelude is Green Sleeves. Big welcome to Richard and Marcia, who had a long trip up. We appreciate the effort. And you can see from our slide program is going to be on community. That is in reference to Richard and Marcia, who basically built this community at First Universalist in New Madison. Not only here, but also in Dayton and in many places before that. I'm not gonna try not to embarrass Richard, but I'm gonna read his history a little bit as we go through. All right, our chalice lighting, A Community of Faith by Judith L. Quarles. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flaming chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a great community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth. Our opening hymn is 237, The First Noel. Noel or no-well? I never knew which was the correct one. I'm assuming both are acceptable. All right. Our affirmation, So We Are Bound Together by Elizabeth Lerner McClay. As drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea, so we are drawn together. So we are fortunate to find each other, So we are bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. Our children's story, as you know, we follow Ukraine fairly closely. I think Richard and Marcia know, we sent over, I think it was $2,000 worth of money and over 100 and some coats, hats, gloves to the Ukraine for Ukraine relief. We try to raise their plight every Sunday and try to keep it in mind as we go. This was on NBC News, actually I think it was on ABC and CBS as well. The Ukrainian Children's Choir and a hymn that was written by a Ukrainian and first performed in the United States.
This classic song of the season. Today, a song of survival. Ukraine's Shedrick Children's Choir performing Carol of the Bells today at New York's Carnegie Hall. The holiday favorite, written by a Ukrainian composer, premiered here a century ago.
It creates a kind of a bond that is hard to describe.
Leah Batstone spent more than 2 years helping arrange the group's visit.
What is it to have that song sung at Carnegie Hall? It's incredible to think of the original version being sung with Ukrainian lyrics once again on the stage of Carnegie Hall. So it's my favorite Christmas carol that comes from Ukraine.
Carol of the Bells, its message of good tidings, now ever more meaningful for this chorus. Members reuniting this summer after many fled to safer places during the war. Over the last few weeks, they rehearsed in Kyiv, at times practicing in a bomb shelter without electricity.
You haven't had a typical 15-year-old year, right? Life's been different.
We just woke up and we didn't know anything about our future. We didn't know about tomorrow or even 5 minutes later of the time we were living in.
This trip to America, a chance to simply be kids again.
This is your first time in New York City. Yes. What's it like?
It's great. We enjoy it very much. It's like fairy tale.
Their impromptu performance last week nearly bringing Grand Central Terminal to a standstill. And after a week of rehearsals here, these children have been through so much. Today, proving joy and hope can prevail.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories.
The world is a smaller place than we even realize. Carol of the Bells, a favorite American hymn written by a Ukrainian composer, first sung in the United States 100 years ago at Carnegie Hall. And those poor kids. This is a picture of, a satellite picture of the Ukraine. That's the big dark hole in the middle, because the Russians have continued to bomb and rocket their electric installations. More than 45% are destroyed. Sad picture, the Ukrainians scramble out, rebuild it, the Russians bomb it again. They rebuild it, they bomb it again. That is basically a crime against humanity. There's nothing military in any of these things. They're basically putting cities in the dark. So, after that, let's start with a moment of silence for our joys and concerns. What do we have for joys and concerns today? I'll light a candle as we always do for the Ukraine.
You might also like read to light a candle for Iran and the unrest there and what the people are going through. It's considerable. And if you watch the news, and it's really even being underreported, the amount of the unrest, the security risk in that country to people, to their infrastructure, it's getting almost out of control. And we certainly can all surmise the reasons for that. I won't go into that. But I really think we need to care about the people. The Persian culture, so developed through so many changes over the years, and yet it endures. We hope that they will endure as well through this latest unrest.
A candle for Iran. Short synopsis. Iran is providing many of the drones that are bombing the Ukrainian electrical grid. They deny that, but the parts have been found and they are distinct. Iran is having problems because, as many of you know, the chador, the burqa, the clothes that women are supposed to wear, one young woman didn't have her hair covered up to their satisfaction and was killed in captivity when she was taken in. That has caused a tremendous incitement and a tremendous response from the people of Iran, not from many parties or outside influence, but just the people themselves. Over 200 people have been killed in demonstrations, and the demonstrations continue. So there's a real question of how much control the mullahs have in Iran over the people who actually have feelings, desires, and things that they want to do on their own. So, a candle for Iran. We'll light it, yes.
A little closer to home, Denise Rubbervicks up in Ashtabula with her parents. Her father has been quite ill for some time, didn't want to go to the hospital, but now has been there 2 weeks, and they can't figure out just quite what it is. They have some theories, but Denise and her family, particularly her father and mother.
We got an email from Denise, or not from Denise, and they said that they would have liked to have been here today, but she was still in Ashtabula, and his car, he says he doesn't trust his old rusty junker to get down here and get back again, so they're with us in spirit. I don't know if they've ever, Lou is kind of an anti-Facebook person, so I don't think he watches on Facebook, but I told him we also post this on YouTube if he wants to watch it on YouTube, so it is there if he wants to join us. I know he's with us in spirit, as is Denise. And we hold Denise's father in our prayer concerns for a fast recovery. Yes, Marcia.
Well, I just would like to say on behalf of both of us what a tremendous joy it is to be here today. I can't believe that it's taken us so long to come back. But life is complex, and anyway, driving up here, seeing all the things that we saw for 13 years as we drove up here was, and I have tears in my eyes and tears in my voice. Anyway, it's a real joy to be back, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we miss you. We still terribly miss you. And we still remember the good times and the inspiration that you brought us and the community that you built here. Most of what you see is your responsibility. I mean, we are few in number, and we'll discuss that later maybe, but we are strong in spirit, and we want to encourage everyone, even though our attendance may be 5 or 10 in actual attendance and maybe another 10 more on Facebook, we are still making money. We are still making more money than we're spending because we don't have to pay Richard a full-time salary. And I work for peanuts, so yes.
Speaking of Richard and a full-time salary, do you remember the board meeting where you were talking about money and whether we had enough or not? And Richard, without speaking to me at all or even looking at me, said, "Well, why don't you just cut my salary in half?" And I went, and then he looked over at me like, "Was that okay?" And I said, "Well, yes," but then I made a stipulation that if he was going to not get paid another half gone, then he wouldn't have to come up with the bulletins for the services he didn't deliver.
Yeah.
So we got something out of it. I cut have cut in salary.
Well, being a pastor is a calling, and as we were looking for a new pastor, even a part-time pastor, we ran into that. Pastors who said, this is how many hours I'll work, I won't do this, I won't do this, I won't do this. Those people may be pastors by job description, but to me, they are not pastors by calling. When the phone rings in the middle of the night, it doesn't matter whether you've done your 40 hours or your 20 hours or how many hours, you still go. And there are people who don't go. And we've run across those here, and my wife, who is at New Carlisle, which let me light a candle, they now have 18 positive COVID flu people in New Carlisle. They are cursed with as many congregations. Someone who says, I'm not wearing a mask and you can't make me, they turn out to be positive, and they've hugged everybody in the church. So they are now at the 18. They're trying to encourage people and enforce the mask mandate, but you cannot force people, and you cannot tell people in a welcoming place like church, you're not allowed to come to church. You just can't do that. Although, let me make a point to that. They did do it to one person who was a homeless man who came and they tried to take care of, but he came in with bed bugs. And they had to completely fumigate the entire church. So they told him, you cannot come back until you fumigate your apartment, or the state does, or someone does, and until we can inspect you and make sure that you're not bringing bed bugs. Wow. So like any other stipulation, like any other welcoming, like any other open-hearted environment, we're not stupid. I mean, we won't do things that are detrimental to the health and the welfare of the greater number. You still have to maintain some kind of balance there. There's a limit as to how much you can give. So, any other joys and concerns? Yes?
I received a Christmas card announcement from our granddaughter in Florida this past week, announcing the arrival of our 16th great-grandchild.
Wow!
Coming in May.
16.
16.
Amazing. Congratulations. And we're hoping everything goes well.
Well, Kenny, you gave me courage to talk about a joy, because I have 2 great-grandkids. And they were over Friday night and Saturday, and when they come, I just have a ball. They are so cool. 7 and 5. And I just laugh the whole time. And we play all kinds of games. We play Candyland and all that.
Young kids keep you young. And that's the truth. And it is so nice to have joys and concerns instead of just concerns. So please keep those joys in your minds. All right, a candle for those joys and those concerns which are not able to be voiced. You may not know what they are, you may not recognize it, or you may not just want to share it with us. But no, we are there for you. Whatever you need, we are available. Unless you have bed bugs. And if you do, we will make sure that you get rid of the bed bugs. All right. Our message is a message from Richard. His wife gave us, yes, that's you. And remarkably, you still look just like that.
Yeah,
and that's an old picture. Marcia gave us, or provided us with one of Richard's sermons, which I will read. And as I mentioned earlier, Richard has a remarkable delivery style. It's something you get focused on, you listen to, you relax, you learn without being anything stuffed into your head. I am not going to be able to replicate that, so I will do the best job I can to read it as Richard would have presented it, but I do not have his style. All right, a little bit of CV. Richard, in case you didn't know, got his BA from Adrian in 1961, his MDiv from Union Theological Seminary in New York, pretty prestigious, in 1963. Then he got an MA from Siena Heights in 79, and an MA from the University of Michigan in 86, and his first preliminary fellowship was in 1989, and his full fellowship in the parish was 1992. He was ordained in 1964. He's been at First Universalist here from 2005 to 2019. From 1991 to 2005, he was at Miami Valley UU Fellowship. And in 88 to 91, he was an interim minister in Jackson County, Michigan, Jackson, Michigan. And 88 to 91, the Universalist Church of East Liberty in Clark Lake, Michigan. And also, as you see, which I didn't know, Richard has written a book, Every Place is Holy Ground. We will be pulling, I ordered that book, and we will be pulling many of our presentations. In case Richard didn't know, we don't have a minister. I'm the one that does all this. And I do not write sermons really well. I started out just reading sermons, and now I'm trying to learn from the past accomplished people on how to present a sermon. So I will be using your book as a treasure trove of information that will be coming week after week after week. All right, this book is a collection of the essays compiled over several years of reflecting on my experiences and the experiences of others. Each chapter speaks to the hopes, pain, and mystery of our lives. They pose questions about the generosity, suffering, conscience, justice, race, poverty, and charity. They ask, what good are we and how should we live? They raise questions about the religious life and the belief that offers other possible answers in a variety of ways. While religion is not enough to answer all the questions life presents, it offers a way of struggling to live with integrity and concern for others. As the preface says, the chapters are short, each beginning with an anecdote about either the poignant, a woman fleeing from her burning home, a Jew given hospitality in a Palestinian refugee camp, a friend with dementia, or the seemingly banal feeling pain while bending over a laundry basket, sharing an umbrella, or the controversial science versus religion, immigration, racism. Succinctly told, the stories trigger questions that give us pause. Why is God always punishing folks who are trying? And lead us into our depths, not for answers, but for insights. Healers are hosts who patiently and carefully listen to the story of the suffering stranger. I think this reviewer put his finger on the talent of Richard, not for answers, but insights. That encapsulates to me Unitarian Universalism. We're not looking for the answers. Nobody's going to give you an answer. You don't give anybody else an answer. You look for insights. You look for understanding. All right. Our sermon is The Mysterious God by Richard Venus. I confess what most ministers or rabbis or imams should never confess. I find God a mystery. I don't mean strange or unknowable, but rather most of what I do know, I can't say I know for certain. In no way do I ever want or expect you to believe as I do, simply because I said such and such were true. I hope that my ministry among you will only solidify and bring assurance and increase your understanding of what you believe. I want to add, however, that as thoughtful human beings, it is most important to have some understanding of what one believes, for it shapes and guides how we live and how we are asked to live out those beliefs in our daily lives. I do believe there is a God, as do many of my Unitarian Universalist colleagues and most of my ministerial friends. Just what I believe about God, however, changes on a reoccurring basis, as it does for many who find their God beyond complete understanding. In trying to discover what he believes, one philosopher, whose name escapes me, that is truly Richard, writes, I'm beyond atheism. Atheism is not believing in God. Not believing in God is easy. You can't prove a negative, so there's no work to do. You can't prove that there isn't an elephant inside the trunk of my car. You sure? How about it now? Maybe he was just hiding before. Check again. Did I mention that my personal heartfelt definition of the word elephant includes mystery, order, goodness, love, and a spare tire? So anyone with a love for truth outside herself has to start with no belief in God and then look for evidence of a God. She needs to search for some objective evidence of a supernatural power. All the people I write emails to often are still stuck at this searching stage. The atheism part is easy, but this I believe thing seems to demand something more personal, some leap of faith that helps one see life's big picture, some rules to live by. So I'm saying this I believe there is no God. Having taken that step, this writer goes on, it informs every moment of my life. I'm not greedy. I have love, blue skies, rainbows, and Hallmark cards, and that has to be enough. It has to be enough, but it's everything in the world, and everything in the world is plenty for me. It seems just rude to beg the invisible for more. Just the love of my family that raised me and the family I'm raising now is enough that I don't need heaven. I won the huge genetic lottery and I get joy every day. Believing there is no God means I can't really be forgiven except by kindness and faulty memories. That's good. It makes me want to be more thoughtful. I have to try and treat people right the first time around. Believing there's no God, he continues, I can read ideas from all different people, from all different cultures. Without God, we can agree on reality, and I can keep learning where I'm wrong. We can all keep adjusting, so we can really communicate. I don't travel in circles where people say, I have faith, so believing there is no God lets me be proven wrong, and that's always fun. And that also is Richard. It means I'm learning something. Believing there is no God means the suffering I've seen in my family, and indeed all the suffering in the world, isn't caused by an omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent force that isn't bothered to help us or is just testing us, but rather something that we may all be able to help others within the future. No God means the possibility of less suffering in the future. Believing there is no God gives me more room for belief in family, people, love, truth, beauty, sex, Jell-O, and all the other things I can prove. And that makes this life the best life I will ever have. I quote this philosopher at some length to remind us that while we're up against it, if we are somehow believers in something science can't prove. Unlike this philosopher, however, I look upon life and history and the universe and the recent news reports of incredible acts of evil, and that has not changed since this was written many, many years ago. And I say all this does not lead me to say there is no God. Rather, it leads me to being uncertain and calls me to do justice, love mercy, and speak humbly before the universe, whether or not there is a divine being somehow, somewhere. Recent news articles report that young people are turning away from the traditional institutions of religion, but many are growing in a kind of secular spirituality. I'm not sure just what that means either, but it suggests that these young people are seeking something beyond what they can prove in the science lab and searching for what helps give meaning to their lives. In her book, The History of God, Karen Armstrong notes that throughout history, people in their own time and in many ways conceptualized a God that worked for them and fit within their life experiences. Each generation creates their own God, and if we do need gods, we create the gods we need. UU minister and recent director of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, Jane Respica, reminds us that the Romans held Caesar to be a god, and the Egyptian pharaohs became gods, as did the Greek Dionysus, as did Jesus. While ancient people paid homage to the godlike superheroes, history often appears to us full of what we in the 20th century might call supernatural heroes. Marvel, movies. I'm sure you've seen them. Of course, there are thousands and thousands of gods out there. All of us sit in our own cultures looking out at the gods, and we see what we see, not necessarily what other believers see. Some gods seem completely abstract to me, but their manifestations look concrete. Meanwhile, the Jewish God looks to me to be a personal God, yet it is never described or given a visual image, nor in the strict sense is God's name ever to be spoken. Somehow, though, this God has no physicality. We imagine this God to be male. The male image was inherited by both Christianity and Islam. We Unitarian Universalists become atheists, agnostics, and humanists among us, and God may be a spirit that offers a feeling of safety and advocacy close at hand, or a God that provides strength and encouragement in the face of life's challenges, or a God who judges not as we struggle toward justice, but don't always get it right. And that is where I begin on my religious journey. As I often do while sitting at my desk some starry night, looking out over the trees in my backyard toward a glowing yellow-white full moon, I then look beyond. And while I cannot possibly see the other 200 billion miles of black holes and stars and galaxies out there, I am reminded there is more out there that I don't know for sure than I do know for sure. Therefore, I find I can't say yes or no to the spiritual nature of that universe. I can only surmise. And it isn't that because I can't see or even envision these billions, it is that it reminds me that I can't say it isn't there because I can't see it. I only consider it because some very smart people have said they have seen it or known it, if not in actual reality, but with their telescopes and computers that send back signals from their ingeniously sent and remotely aloft spaceships. No two UUs conceptualize God or truth or justice or the universe in quite the same way, but we are inclined to seek out a God that gives strength for some of the good with meaning and with love. As you might guess, my spiritual journey is an ongoing one, as I hope is yours. As we are confronted by new truths and new conflicts and new dilemmas, hopefully our faith and our spiritual journey will be a comfort and a blessing with or without a God of our denying or our discovery. I think those words are as prophetic and supporting and encouraging today as they were when it was first delivered years ago. And I thank Richard for his thoughts, and I thank Richard for who he is. Comments? Ooh. The universe is speaking to us. Yes.
Well, first of all, Tim, I think you should be very comfortable about your own delivery. But it seems to me that message goes to the heart of what it means to be a UU, doesn't it?
Yes.
Not the knowledge, but seeking the insight and all the considerations that go into that. And why we all end up in slightly different places, probably. Or any one of us ends up in one place today and someplace else tomorrow or 5 years. But the respect for the continual searching, it's all embedded in that sermon. I really do appreciate it.
And I think
appreciate it.
Very good. Good point. Thank you.
And every one of Richard's sermons, the ones I heard, and I've not been here as long as most of you, encapsulated that same idea, that same sense of love and concern and caring, and yet not demanding, not delivering, just asking, as we say, insights and not answers. That is the true meaning of being a Unitarian. When I came to this church, I had a vague understanding of what Unitarian Universalists were, but by being here and meeting the people and listening to Richard, I became a true believer, which is an unusual thing to say about someone who's an atheist or an agnostic, in the sense of community. That's why I keep talking about community all the time. Community is what counts. I don't care what you believe in. We were more than welcoming to the pagans who came until they tried to take over the church. And they are more than welcome to come back, and I've invited them to speak if they want to speak here. But as any democracy, one group, one person does not rule them all. This is not Lord of the Rings. There is not one ring to rule them all. So, yes.
Just a quick interesting story that I maybe we've shared often in the past, but it relates to the way you dealt with this. When, as you know, Richard was a Methodist originally, and then nothing for a searcher for about a decade. And his friend, Larry Hutchison, who had been a Presbyterian minister with him in Detroit in the 60s when they were rabble-rousers in the 60s, had become a Unitarian minister. And he was at East Liberty Church in Jackson, Michigan. And he called Richard one day and asked if he would preach for him. He wanted a Sunday off, and would Richard come up and preach for him? And Richard said, "Oh, no, I don't do that anymore. I have so many questions and no answers, and so I don't preach anymore." And Larry said, "Oh, you have too many questions and no answers? You'd make a perfect Unitarian. Come and preach at this church." And he did, and Larry later took the church in Indianapolis, and Richard ended up at the church in East Liberty. That was where the Unitarian church, and that's where we met the Unitarian church. And but I think that the questions and no answers is worth realizing, I guess.
And that's real life education, real life growth, real life spiritual growth. Richard did not start out to be a minister. He has training in multiple fields, is that correct? Yeah. And had multiple careers before he actually came to the ministry. And I think you'll find people who have a true feeling, a true sensitivity to what is going on in life are not people who started out on a railroad track and stayed on that track their entire life. They may have lots of money, they may have lots of property, they may have trophies of cars, yachts, whatever, but you won't find, look at the people we're looking at with Jeff Bezos and the guy from Tesla. And are these the kind of people we want to emulate? And I have friends who want to. They want to be rich, so they think that's what they have to do. But are these people genuine, whole human beings? They don't seem to be in what we know about them. And they don't seem to be the kind of people that I would go to for answers.
Good point.
So.
Good point.
All right. Anything else?
Yeah?
Yes.
I think it was in the movie Inherit the Wind, which was a movie about the monkey trial in Tennessee in the 30s. That somebody said about the guy, they didn't give him the name of the prosecutor in real life, William James Bryan, but somebody said, I think it was about him, he looked for God too high up and too far away. And I think whenever a person decides whether to believe in God or not, the first thing you have to do is decide on your image of God. And I think the image of God that I was hearing in the message is an image that I wouldn't believe in either. I don't have that image, so it's a little easier to be theistic for me. But it's really key. If you see God as perfectly wise and perfectly good and powerful and the creator of the universe, then you run into the classical philosophical problem of the problem of evil. There's so much evil in the world, then why would God create it that way? But if you don't accept that image of God, you see God some other way, then the problem of evil doesn't stand in your way. So once again, the image of God is key to, I think, deciding whether you believe in God or not.
I agree. And the thing to remember is justice is not something that happens because it's supposed to happen. No matter how good a job Clarence Darrow did defending that teacher in Tennessee, he was convicted.
Yeah.
And that is what we live in Dark County. And the state of Ohio. We were talking earlier today about the state of Ohio has just pretty much eliminated the Board of Education, the State Board of Education, and delegated most of its duties to the governor's office so he can decide what is done in education and what is not done, and they don't have to listen to dissenting voices. That is a denial of justice, and we will have to see where that goes in the state of Ohio, and not just in the state of Ohio. I mean, we're looking at this and we'll talk about this as we go along, that there is a move afoot to ban all oral not contraceptives, but abortion artifacts. In other words, the mifepristone, the abortion pills, they're trying to ban those on a federal level. Think what that's going to do to the situation of conception and abortion. All right, we need to move on. Anything else? Thank you for your contribution. As Derek always says, this is the most important part of the sermon, not the delivery, but the response. So, all right. Our offering, as is usual, if you need something, take it out. If you have more than you need, put something in. And we will hear, what is our offering? Oh, Holly Jolly Christmas by Burl Ives. How many people even know who Burl Ives is? Yeah, that tells us how old we are. Yeah. So I wish we had Burl Ives to sing it. Yeah. Kids know who Burl Ives is when they see that show on TV, the little fat guy with the handlebar mustache, but they don't really know who Burl Ives is. All right, closing hymn is 236, Thou Joyful. joyful day. I missed a word. Very nice hymn, not sung very often. All right, A Minister's Farewell by Caitlin Cott Colieber. Beloveds, may love guide you on your journey forward, joy meet you at every turn, and hope be your daily practice. May gratitude companion you, compassion embolden you, and open-hearted courage be your unending choice. May peace challenge you, dear ones, generosity empower you, and may you know in every day that you are enough, just exactly as you are, and you are not alone. Blessed be and farewell. Our postlude is a Christmas song. Christmas, a wonderful time of the year. I used to think, couldn't it be all year, but now that it starts before Halloween, I'm beginning to rethink that. We have cookies, and for those who wish to stay for a little bit, we kind of wanted to figure out how we could have something to eat with Richard and Marcia, so rather than go to a restaurant, we're going to have cold cuts, just some odds and ends. So feel free to stay. If you didn't attend church, you can go on in because we got plenty. And it's actually not day-old stuff. This is all fresh stuff. Big change for me. So, all right, that is our service from New Madison, Unitarian Universalist. I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, in this season of happiness and joy, if you are in want, please contact us.
Yeah.